What are the slope, m, and the y-intercept, b, in a linear function? The slope, m, tells you how much the function increases or decreases when x increases by 1. The y-intercept, b, tells you where the graph of the linear function intersects with the y-axis. This is also where x is equal to 0. Previously, you looked at examples where the slope and intercept were already set. In this video, you will take a closer look at how changing them individually changes the appearance of the function. Let's first look at an example where the linear function has a positive slope m, meaning m is greater than 0. Let's say that m equals 2 and b equals 1. Then the graph will look like this. When m is positive, the graph slopes upward to the right like this. M being equal to 2 tells you that for each increase of 1 in the value of x, the function increases by 2. Recall that the positive direction on the x-axis is to the right, and the positive direction on the y-axis is upward. Now let's look at a linear function where m equals 4, with b still equal to 1. The graph will look like this. M equals 4 tells you that the function increases by 4 when x increases by 1. When m is positive, the higher the value of m, the steeper the slope of the curve. Now let's look at what the graph of a linear function looks like when m has a negative slope, meaning where m is less than 0. For this graph, let's say that m equals minus 2 and b equals 1. Then the graph will look like this. When the slope is negative, the graph slopes downwards to the right, like this. M being equal to minus 2 tells you that the function will decrease by 2 for each increase of 1 for x. Now let's look at a linear function where m equals minus 4, while still keeping b fixed at 1. The graph will look like this. Because m equals minus 4, you know that the function decreases by 4 when x increases by 1. The more negative the value of m is, the steeper the slope of the graph. But what does the curve look like when m is 0? Let's say that this time m is equal to 0 and b still equals 1. When m equals 0, it tells you that the function value always remains the same. 0 times x equals 0 no matter what value you insert for x. So the function neither increases nor decreases regardless of that value. This means the graph is just a horizontal line. There is no slope to it, since m equals 0. Now let's take a closer look at what the y-intercept b means in a linear function. The y-intercept, b, tells you where the graph of the linear function and the y-axis intersect. It is the value for f of x where x equals 0. If b is greater than 0, then the graph intersects the y-axis above the origin. Take this example, where b is equal to 3. That means that the graph's y-coordinate when x is 0 is y equals 3. The graph of the linear function will therefore intersect the y-axis at the coordinates 0, 3. Now let's look at the opposite scenario. If b is less than 0, then the graph intersects the y-axis below the origin. In this example, where b is equal to minus 2, the graph of the linear function intersects the y-axis at the point 0, minus 2. And then finally, if b equals 0, then the graph intersects the y-axis at the origin, 0, 0, like this. The slope, m, and the y-intercept, b, describe certain features in a linear function. The slope, m, tells you how much the function increases or decreases when the value of x increases by 1. The y-intercept, b, tells you where the graph of the linear function intersects the y-axis. This is also the point where x is equal to 0.